Turn mics on. It says it's 7:02 according to.
Turn it off and then turn it back on?
Nope, it's a green light. Green light. All right. Okay, call the meeting to order. This is the Genoa Township Board of Zoning Appeals. It is May 25th, 2021, and we are in the Genoa Township Meeting Hall. And we have two cases on the agenda tonight, BZA case 2021-07 and BZA case 2021-08, which has been withdrawn. So we effectively have one case before us. Staff present is Susan Dorch, our Deputy Zoning Inspector, Paul Benson, Deputy Zoning Inspector. And we call the meeting to order at 7:02, and I'll call the roll. Mr. Phillips is absent. Ms. Driscoll?
Here.
Ms. Yu?
Here.
Mr. Boone? Here. Mr. Hanson? Here. And alternate Mayhew is not present. The first item on the agenda is the meeting minutes from the hearings held on April 27th, 2021. I'll give you a moment to review those if you haven't already done so, and then I will entertain a motion to approve.
I have read them and I will make the motion to approve.
Okay, Ms. Driscoll makes a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Ms. Yu. Any discussion? Any revisions? Then I will call the question. All those in favor of approval of the minutes from April 27th, 2021, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carries. All right, we'll go into our first case tonight at 7:04 p.m. And before I read the case into the record, I will read this statement. As the adopted policy of the Board of Zoning Appeals, all applicants will be granted an opportunity to make their formal presentation. The audience will then be granted an opportunity to comment, followed by questions from the board. This policy was adopted by the Board of Zoning Appeals to provide for orderly discussion of business scheduled for consideration. The chairperson, at my discretion, may limit repetitive debate. So let me have those that are going to appear on the application stand and be sworn in. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. Be seated. And I will read the application into the record. Kevin and Rachel Corey requesting approval of a conditional use permit to conduct a home occupation in an accessory building on lot 75 of the Burke subdivision, 6642 South Old 3C Highway, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, which is currently zoned suburban residential, SR, and this is BZA case 2021-07. Okay, the legal notice for this hearing was printed and published on May 14th, 2021 in the Delaware Gazette and posted at the Genoa Township Hall on May 5th, 2021. An attempt to mail notice of this hearing to property owners contiguous to and across the street from the subject property was also made. We're going to enter into evidence exhibits A through D, which includes the legal notice, the sign-in sheet, application, and staff report. And we will go ahead and start with staff's presentation. Susan?
Thank you, Mark. So the subject property is a 1.03 acre lot. It is in a suburban residential zoning district. The residents at 6642 South Old 3C Highway is located on Lot 75 in the Burke Edition 1 subdivision. That subdivision was recorded in November of 1953. According to Delaware County Auditor's site, the residence located on the lot was built in 1955, and the existing accessory building was built in 1960. We did not find any zoning permits in our files for either of these structures, but that's understandable given the age of the structures, and there were no additional permits found. According to Delaware County Auditor's site, the Corys purchased the property in April of 2018. On March the 27th, 2021, the township received a complaint concerning commercial use of the subject property during a site inspection on March the 29th. Staff witnessed personal training taking place in the driveway and viewed signage for experienced fitness on the garage. A notification letter was sent to Mr. and Mrs. Corey that same day. On April 2nd, 2021, Mr. Corey called in and spoke to staff and obtained information concerning the conditional use permit process. And that application was received on April the 29th, 2021. The applicant answered all the questions for the conditional use standards as part of the application process. Staff didn't want to note that we had prior correspondence with Mr. Corey. He had emailed our office back on June 24th, 2020, and had obtained some information on home occupation standards. That's all the information I have. If you guys have any questions.
Questions for Susan? Dave? No? Let's see if I can find my notes. Okay. So the house was constructed in 1953, which we don't have any permits for, I understand. And the garage is roughly the same type, the accessory building.
According to the auditor's site, it says that the house was built in 55 and the garage in 1960.
Oh, okay.
Was it added later? Okay.
So it's detached from the house, so.
Right, and that's why it's considered an accessory.
Correct.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay, let's go to the applicant first. If you would like to sit, you're welcome to, or stand at the podium, either one. You're more than welcome to. Come on up, and since it's a large room and a small audience.
Thank you.
No problem. If you could briefly outline your request for the board. I realize you probably filled out the questionnaire. If you could give them, kind of like Susan did with staff's report, kind of give an overview.
Sure. So, kind of like a synopsis overall of what I'm trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. So I have a garage that I was planning on turning into a two-car garage, run electricity into it. Long story short, the pandemic happened, and I was furloughed from my job, my 10-year personal training job. And at that point in time, it occurred to me that going to a gym anytime soon would be impossible. Gyms were closed for several months. And also the aspect of would I want to go to another gym during the COVID crisis did not seem very appealing. So I turned it into my own personal gym, started acquiring equipment. And after about a month of doing that, I thought to myself, hey, I could probably make this into a gym to train my prior clients. And that's what I started out to do. So I'd very much like to take that garage and make it into a business for my personal training.
Okay. I've got I don't mean to cut you off. Was there anything? Because
I can elaborate much more, I'm just not sure what.
No, I understand. Most applicants that sit in that seat don't either. So let me ask a few questions and that may lead you to
the right
more
path.
statements. How long have you actually been operating then, the business? I see you've got the equipment in there.
Yes.
I understand that, somebody called and complained at the zoning office, so it's pretty obvious you've been operating it for a while.
Yes.
And roughly, what's the timeline on
August.
that? Since
August
August
2020, yes.
of 2020? Okay. Okay. Are you required to have a business license or anything? No business license, anything from like the Delaware County Health Department or anything like that?
Not for a personal trainer.
Okay.
It's essentially a studio at my house,
May I
which
ask
is
a
how I
question, Mark?
live that.
Yeah, in a second. Give me 1 second and
Okay.
then you'll be up. Okay. Are you, now I forgot it. You're up. Sorry.
How do you get your clients? You said former, you're just calling your former ones, or you're trying to solicit new ones, or do you see this growing, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so most of my clients are my prior clients I had. So I used to train people over at Easton, not at Easton, but close to Easton.
Yeah.
At a little boutique personal training facility, 10 years. And I had a pretty good rapport with some of those clients.
So that was your primary occupation?
That was my only occupation, yes. I did that for 10 years straight, full time.
Okay.
Pandemic hit, COVID, got furloughed, didn't get hired back, and didn't know until the very last minute I wasn't getting hired back. But as far as clients go, 3/4 are my old clients from the New Albany, Easton area. I do have a couple that live in this area.
Okay. I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, I asked, how did you solicit them? Did you call them? Did you get them? Did you?
But the majority I texted. I had most of them on my phone. I already communicated with them
Okay.
via phone prior.
So it was a one-to-one kind of thing?
Yes.
Are you planning on expanding this? Are you planning on doing anything else to attract other clients?
As far as advertising,
Basically, yeah.
yeah, I have to. Right now, it's not feasible to do this. I can't make a living doing it the way I'm doing it right now. I have to get more clientele and or get another way to make ends meet. So yes, I do plan on marketing. I have been marketing in the past. Google ads, Facebook ads, Nextdoor.
Okay.
But I do not plan on making it into a facility where there are 20 people coming in every day. That's just, for me, not what I want to do. I mentioned in here that for me, a busy day are 4 clients. So the entire day, 4 clients keeps me pretty busy, makes me happy. A slow day is no clients for me. So I'm not looking to stay at 4 clients. I'd love to be 4 or 5, maybe 6 clients per day tops, 5 days a week. But for me to do that, I have to do a lot more advertising, more
Oh,
marketing,
that's what I thought.
word of mouth, perhaps.
Okay. And you're using, and I see you've converted the garage. Is it the whole garage, part of the garage, half the garage?
The whole garage.
Whole garage.
Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't tell from the pictures. I couldn't get the perspective, and it's a standard 2-car garage, and the pictures were a little bit.
I had to compress them.
Yeah,
So they look a little wonky. when you
Yeah,
look them on
when I saw the video, I'm like, I can't tell. So, okay, I get it. Okay, I think you covered a lot of what I was gonna cover just with 2 questions. No, you're fine.
No, I was just wondering how he was
Do
gonna
we know,
expand this.
Susan, do we know what the original complaint was?
That he was running a business out of his garage?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was noise or some, okay.
When you expand, and you hope to expand, what about parking the people that come to see you?
Yeah, so currently the way it is right now, my driveway can accommodate easily 5, 6 cars. My car's always there because I work from home. My car doesn't really go anywhere. My wife is there half the time. So normally there would be 2 cars there, my car, my wife's car, and then 1 other client's car.
Do you have your own garage too? I mean,
No, so the
you have
garage,
no garage for your own cars?
no. I thought it'd
The
be,
actual garage is now the studio, and
Yes.
there's no other covered parking.
correct.
Okay.
And as far as expanding goes, it is a garage gym. I'm very proud of it, but should I become more successful, the game plan is to actually get a commercial space somewhere in the Westerville area. So the goal is not to stay there forever. I don't have a restroom, the public bathroom in there, so it'd be
Yeah.
nice to, if I can have the clients to expand to a different location.
You mentioned in your application that it's typically one client at a time and maybe a father-son
Yes,
that come together?
That's the exception.
So is that your intention to keep it to groups of that size as you add more clients?
I've done this for a long time, and I don't enjoy training. The father-son team, they're great. I've done them for a long, long time, but I don't enjoy training multiple people at once. I think you get much better results when it's one-on-one. When I have to go around and tutor 3 or 4 different people, I think you get a very much a watered-down result. So my thing is one-on-one, and that's what I've done for 10 years, one-on-one. And my prior job, sometimes it was 2 clients per me, but one-on-one is what I always do. I would never want to do 3 or 4 people at once.
What, I'm sorry, Paul.
I'm good.
What hours do you typically operate?
My earliest client comes in at 9, and then I'm totally done by 8 p.m. Now, on my website, I do say that I'll take you as early as 6. Don't want to, it's early. But the earliest clients I have come in at 9, and then my last clients come in at 7 p.m., and we're done by 8 p.m.
Okay. And what are these, like 1-hour lessons, hour and a half, 2 hours?
Yes, 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
It's their choice.
Mhm. Susan, if I refresh my memory, because it's been a little while since we've had a conditional use permit, what's the duration of these? Are these until the end of time, until the use stops? For example, if he moves out, goes to a commercial space, does that extinguish the conditional use?
If it had a condition that said it had to do that. Otherwise, I think the code says,
I can't
I have to look it up. I think it's,
And I
if they
forgot.
quit using it after, it used to say 2 years, I think.
Is it 2
I'll
years?
check for you. I'll let,
Thank you. I meant to bring mine and I got halfway down the street and forgot it. Halfway down my dirt road. And realized I'd forgotten it.
It's a good question.
Because, you know, I know with the variance, it attaches to the property until the end of time. But I remember there's a twilight on a conditional use permit.
.305, a conditional use permit shall be deemed to authorize only one particular conditional use. The conditional use permit shall automatically expire if for any reason the conditional use shall cease for more than 6 months.
So it's 6 months. So for example, if he gets wildly successful and he moves to a
Moves
commercial
out.
space over across on Chandler Court, 6 months later, then the permit expires. Would one client, and I think I know the answer to this, would one client would continue the use? For example, if he had 30 clients and he took 29 of them over to Chandler Court and left one at his house, that would
I
continue.
have no way of knowing
Yeah, I know
whether
that.
he's doing 1 client a day or he's doing 4 or 5 or 6 clients a day.
Right, and that's the other
the
thing, is the enforcement piece, is I realize. I've been
I'm
around it.
assuming if he ramps up and he has huge classes, we would know about that because the neighbors will be
Neighbors
calling.
Apparently,
But-
apparently they're on top of the situation.
But other than that, you know,
Okay.
With the space available, how many people could you possibly put in there anyways?
The train,
Yeah.
probably up to 3, but I would never do that. That's no concern of mine to have 3 people at once.
But I mean, to be comfortable, the size of the space is only gonna be,
Yeah, I mean, let's say I did want to train a bunch of people at once, which is a very common thing with personal training. One trainer has 3, 4, 5, 6 clients. I could probably fit 3 people in that space comfortably. But just point made that I don't do that. It's one-on-one strictly. Even if I expand to another location commercially, it's still going to be one-on-one. That's how I train people. That's what I've done for 11 years.
Yeah.
Susan, in the application, he states that he's willing to connect the garage to the house with a breezeway. does that make a difference as far as how the resolution's written?
If his garage was attached to his house,
No longer an accessory.
he wouldn't be here because he could do his business with, because the code has two sets of standards. So the .01 of 1708 says that it's inside the house. If it's in an accessory building, then it kicks you to O2, and then you have the option to ask for the conditional use. So if he connected the two,
So
I
if we,
think
for
he meets all the
example,
standards if he was,
If,
if
for
his-
example, if we decline the application, then all he has to do essentially to continue the business is to connect it to the house. Is to
he
connect
could,
the accessory-
yes, he could, connect it.
conceivably connect it to the
right,
house.
and he could still operate his business in that garage, yes.
Okay.
Good question. I thought
This
about
is
a week ago.
old property and no homeowners, right?
No, it's on Old 3C.
Yeah, no HOA.
Because we make every garage be connected, okay, but that's a home.
Right, yeah, and I think the zoning's a little different
Yeah.
too. I think that's a PRD thing. Dave, did you have anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay, let's see. Okay, here, about the only thing I have is, I know there was an issue I don't remember if it was in the staff report, but I know there was an issue with the size of the sign. And I'm gonna ask this the only way I can ask it, is you've got a sign in front of your business, and that, to me, if I'm driving by, I see a sign, that's a call to action.
Yeah.
And as opposed to, I'm a personal trainer, I have my own clients, I don't need a sign because that's not how I
They all
advertise.
know me.
Would you like to know why I put it up?
Yeah,
So when you're driving by the house, so imagine no sign there, and you see, like on Google, or you see on Facebook that, hey, at this address, there's a gym here. When you drive by, you see a house, and then you see a white garage.
right.
And you would probably just keep driving by. You would think, hey, it says it's here, but I don't see any kind of gym. My thought was, put a sign up, so when people are driving by trying to find me on purpose, they would drive by and say, oh, there's a sign on that garage. That must be where Kevin works at. It's not big enough that you would probably ever notice it unless you're looking for it. But it's also easy. I can make it smaller. I got that from Vistaprint. It's 2x3. I think it says it has to be 2x2, so it's an easy fix for me.
Yeah, I think that's what the code says is 2x2, and honestly, and I'm gonna take your word for it, driving by it, it looks bigger than 2x3.
Okay, you say it
So-
does look bigger than 2x3?
Driving by it, it does to me, but
Okay.
I mean, I did get the tape measure, but
I can
you know,
certainly measure it if you like.
nah, it's fine.
But I can make it a 2x2. I go through Vistaprint. Vistaprint, you tell them what you want on the product. and
Sure.
the size.
Oh, yeah.
$20 later.
Yeah, there you go.
Mark, I have a
Go ahead.
question for Susan. Susan? I know this came to surface because you got a call from one of the neighbors. After you advertised it and sent it out to everybody like you normally do, how much response did you get then?
I received no phone calls. Did you get it? You didn't get any calls, Paul, right?
I also did not receive any phone calls.
I mean,
So
do we
we
know the
didn't-
complaint came from a neighbor? Okay,
It was just an anonymous email. There was no name or anything on the complaint.
yeah, so I mean, the complaint,
Come from anybody, somebody
right,
could
that
have
was
drove by
outside
and
of
saw.
That
the
doesn't necessarily
notification.
have to be a neighbor.
But there, I assume a sign was put up.
Competitor.
But then, I mean, we did send out,
Three doors down.
sent out notices, and there's a sign in his front yard, so anybody driving past
Right.
would know that he had applied for the conditional use.
Sure.
So, and we got no phone calls and no
That was my
emails.
question, yeah, okay.
Because, okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so regarding the complaint, I read it, and it didn't say anything about, and I could be wrong about this, but nothing about he was disturbing us. He was excessively loud, he was making noise. And the complaint, I only had one client that day. It was the father-son team. And that was one of the rare days where we went outside and did cardio work for 3 minutes. both father and son, we were outside for 3 minutes, and we were dragging a sled. I know exactly because I was timing it. The goal was to go down my property and back in 1 minute per person. So father and son team, it's 2 minutes, let's just say 3 minutes outside. And I did see one of my neighbors pull into their driveway, and I'm thinking that perhaps what happened was that person saw me and was perturbed that I was in the back. Like I said.
Oh, you were in the
You were in the
back doing
back.
that?
In my backyard.
In your backyard
Yes.
as opposed, oh, okay. My
Yes.
mental picture was that you were doing it in the driveway in the front.
And me
No,
too.
no, there was a client that I had maybe 3-4 days later, which
Uh-huh.
was also mentioned in this complaint, where he was skipping rope. So when it says training, it's not like I'm outside for half an hour
Yeah.
doing boot camps. It was 1 minute of skipping rope. Literally, so that's what I do with all my clients. We do strength training for the entire duration, and then the last 1 or 2 minutes, we do cardio work. And with the weather being the way it is, I've only been able to recently kind of take people outside. I don't do that anymore. I mean, once I got the complaint, I don't take anybody outside for fear of upsetting somebody else. So it's a rare thing that I do it, but 15 times or less, I've taken people outside for 1 to 2 minute cardio sessions. If that helps anybody. But if it was a legitimate complaint, I would absolutely say, hey, what am I doing wrong? Am I being too loud? Being uncourteous? I'll fix it. But
Right.
it seemed like maybe somebody was not happy with.
One of your neighbors doesn't like you, maybe.
I'm gonna say
And
anything.
it could have been somebody driving
Yeah,
past
it-
and saw his sign and said, hey, you know,
Probably a competitor that lives 4 doors down that we don't know about.
Hope not.
we don't know. We don't know. When you do anonymous things, then we don't know. so.
Exactly. Anonymous is truly anonymous.
I mean, it just makes me, are there no children in the area? Because, I mean, the kids in my neighborhood are out all day long. So, 2 people outside for 5 minutes. is
Yeah, what are the
gonna
odds of
escape.
somebody
I
seeing
wouldn't even
that?
notice it.
No, I wouldn't either.
No.
I mean,
You
I,
wouldn't.
the only reason I would see it is because I sit and look out my front window.
Right,
when I
yeah, I'd
work.
have to go out, yeah.
When I'm working.
If
outside.
he didn't have the sign, nobody would have known it. They just thought
Right.
one of his buddies was over and they were horsing around. If he didn't have the sign, they wouldn't have put it together.
you'd-
Right, because you don't have drop-ins. It's only, they've made an appointment with you, they show up.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
It's, I didn't mention this, but it's not like a regular gym where
You just show
you
up.
pay me money and I give you a key and you show up whenever you want to. It doesn't
Right.
operate that way. You have
Yeah.
to contact me 24 hours in advance, at
Uh-huh.
least. And then we make an appointment, and then you say, hey, you're coming in at 2 p.m. I get you all set up, I get you planned out, 2 p.m. you come in, we do the training.
Do you have regular people at regular times,
Yes.
program
Yes, I
times,
do.
like Tuesday and Thursday at 10 type thing? Yeah.
The majority, 3/4 are recurring people
Yeah.
at the same times.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. I think,
That was my only remaining question.
yeah.
I can answer that question. My neighbors to, if you're in my house, to my left, Robert and Perla have no children. They do, but out of state, they're
Yeah.
grown adults.
Sure.
My neighbors to the right, Mark, does have a son, maybe 10 years of age,
Mm-hmm.
but they were not in the backyard when I was doing this. Nobody's ever in their backyard.
So you don't actually have clients like out on the driveway doing any of this?
No,
It's
no,
all
I-
in the back?
I did have one client, Sagar, skipping rope every now and then for 1 minute in front. So
Well,
that's the extent of what I
you've
do.
got the worst luck. That's what they saw.
But literally, I mean, nobody can prove me wrong. Nobody can bring in a videotape saying, oh, no, Kevin was outside 3 times today. It just,
Right.
I don't do it. And like I was saying too, open up in August, and it was still nice, but then it became cold weather, so I cannot be outside with clients. in cold
Right,
weather.
oh yeah, the cold, you're never gonna do it, yeah.
And if it's raining too. I can't have somebody in my backyard doing stuff if it's
I
wet and muddy.
take it your garage is heated, though.
It is now, yes.
It's
I
heated.
noticed you've got one of those self-contained, like heater cooler, is it?
I have a mini
heated?
split, yes.
Yeah, that worked pretty good?
Yes.
I've seen a few of them and,
Very, very, very good, not very inexpensive.
yeah, they're
so-
not cheap,
Pros and cons,
right?
So you have no intentions of putting bathrooms in that?
no. People have asked me about that, and my first
What do you
reaction.
do then? Let them in your house? They really need,
If I know somebody really well, I'll say, look, I don't have a bathroom, I have no restroom. If you really have to use the restroom, you can come into my house. Nobody's done that so far. I prefer the,
oh, sure, but
It's only an hour.
yeah, if somebody lives close by, there's not really a need for that. If
Right.
somebody's traveling half an hour to get to me, I get it, but they kind of know, hey, I'll stop at Kroger or some grocery store and use the restroom. but it's not something I offer right now. That would be a very expensive upgrade
Right.
and require
To-
permits and stuff,
To
so.
add a bath, an outside
Yeah.
bath like that is probably more money than, you'd be better off to go commercial at that point.
Right, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah. So once I get more successful, should that happen, and there's no guarantee,
How long do you envision that you might do this out of your house? I mean, and I'm just roughly, I mean, what's success? What's the number for success that you move into a commercial space? I mean, and, because you heard, if we approve this, it can go in perpetuity until you stop it for 6 months, which,
Someone would have to be watching. really.
exactly, there'd have to be an enforcement arm in the township, which honestly, there really isn't.
His
Unless one
neighbors
of the
will
neighbors
enforce it,
complain.
though.
Yeah, your neighbor could enforce it.
Neighbors will
So,
enforce
I
it.
mean, what's the number that gets you into a commercial space?
about 15.
Really,
15 or more.
15?
Yep.
Wow.
But as of right now, I mean, you can probably understand, going to a commercial spot where you're paying $2,000 to $3,000 a month
I know.
just for rent.
I know.
I have to train quite a few people just to pay that
Yeah.
rent. And it was very attractive to me to say, hey, I already have this at my house.
Right.
It's right next door to where I live. I mean, it's the same location, and I'm quite proud of it. But probably 15 people, give or take. Maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more.
Okay, well, that's not a huge number.
Right. Doubling my current client base would get me there.
No kidding. Wow, I'm sure I couldn't afford you then.
But getting people in is the hard part, so
Right.
that's the
Right,
issue.
right. Okay. All right, all right. Anybody have any other questions for the applicant? Okay. Then the way it works, just so you know, is that we're gonna go through, the application. We're gonna go into discussion, and then we may or may not ask you questions. When we go into discussion, we may ask questions, we may not, but it's really not an opportunity to join in.
Okay.
And then we will, if there's any conditions, we may ask you about them, we may not, and then we'll call a vote, and we'll see where it goes. So unless anybody has anything else, and are we ready to go, to move on here into, this isn't a Duncan versus Middlefield situation, but it is, I think, I'm sorry. There's one thing I do have to do. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak on the application? Because there's no one in the hall, I assume that is no. So, and we've received
We
no
had no one
comment
on video.
by email or by text or phone or Pony Express. So, like I said, it's just a little bit of housekeeping.
Right. So you have section 303 instead of Duncan
Right.
versus Middlefield.
Okay, so,
I did want to ask about and if there's any screening that's required, that's going to be required.
did
I mean, it's one of the questions on here.
you had a picture, I think, of your backyard?
Yes.
Did you not?
Right.
And I thought, yeah,
Yeah, exact, right.
yeah, and you've got the walking path right behind you, I
Yes.
think.
At the very end, you can walk right onto the walking path.
Yeah, I used to walk it and run it quite regularly, not so much anymore. Do you have access to the walking path from here, or is there that?
Yeah, you have to go through like a
drainage?
little dirt
Yeah,
path,
yeah.
a little kind of
Okay, so it's not
creek
really.
hill, but
So
yeah,
you're,
you get.
yeah, you're not really sending people out to run up to the fire
No, no, no,
department
no,
and
no.
back?
No, I mean, if you really want to get to it, I mean, I have walked through the mud and dirt to get to the path
Not
before,
worth
but I don't have clients.
Not worth it, no way.
No, no, no.
Okay, I'm with
So-
you.
Teresa had a question, I think.
Oh, go ahead, Teresa.
Yeah, so do any of the screening requirements apply?
That's a board condition if you wanted to
Okay.
have them.
Yeah, because I mean, it goes over it, but,
Yeah, when we get into discussion, let's
but-
talk about that.
okay.
Because
I couldn't hear what you
I
said,
think
Joyce.
she was
If
asking
there's any,
about.
screening requirements or landscaping, because
Oh.
I couldn't quite decipher it, whether it would or
Okay,
would not. So,
Like a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
Depending on what the conditional use is for.
right. Let's go through section 303, and if you want, I guess I can, unless Dave or Teresa, you guys might be the only ones that have done a conditional use permit. Or I can do it.
I've done one, it's long.
Yeah, well, I don't think we've seen one in ages.
So, yeah, I think the last one was, someone wanted his daughter to live over a garage or something.
Yeah, I
That's the last
remember
one
that. That was
remember.
down on 3, and we've had like the Airbnb, we had that one, and then we had
Almost 2 years
the
ago.
lady
Yeah,
with
a garage.
we had the lady that was doing the little dogs, where she was only gonna have 2 or 3 students at a time.
Oh, yeah.
Those are the only ones I can remember. So anyway, okay, let's just go to section 303. Use is so designated, located and proposed to be operated so that the public health, safety, welfare, and convenience will be protected. So,
Yes,
would you say it is?
yeah.
Okay,
He's confining it to the garage or certainly within his own yard, driveway, even.
is the bathroom an issue for anybody?
Not for hour-long appointments.
And not if they're warned. I
Okay.
mean, I can plan ahead.
Okay. I mean, and I'm just asking you, I'm not expressing an opinion. Okay.
There was a time where bathrooms weren't provided anywhere, so I'm pretty geeked.
It's
There are
not like
grocery
you're on a
stores
bike
now.
for 8 hours.
Boy, that was more information I was looking for. Use will not result in the destruction, loss, or damage of natural, scenic, or historic features of major importance, and I think we can all agree that it would not.
No.
And it's on his own property.
Pardon?
And it's on his own property.
Yes.
Yeah.
The use will be designated, constructed, operated, and maintained so that it shall not cause substantial injury to the value of the property in the area or neighborhood where it is to be located. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe that it would. I think it's a very low impact
Yeah, it's
for
very
the,
low
for the immediate area. The houses are on larger sites, they're not on typical 7,500 residential lots, foot residential lots. He's on an acre, a lot of them are long and narrow, so they're somewhat in
How
close
far back-
proximity.
How far back from the road is it?
Oh, what, the garage? Just driving by, and I don't know the number, maybe you do.
I'm guessing. I want to
it's
say
a-
my house
it's
is
a ways.
80 to 100 feet off the road, and
Yeah.
that's probably another
30?
20.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah. It
Yeah.
sits behind my house slightly.
yeah.
Maybe 30, yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty far back.
The use will be designated, constructed, operated, and maintained so it will not cause substantial injury to the value of the property. Oh, did I just do that?
You just read that.
Okay. There's old age coming again. The use shall be compatible with adjoining development and the proposed character of the zoning district where it is located. I think
It's not
It's already
really.
there.
yeah, well, it's there.
Couldn't that be NA? I mean, it doesn't really apply. It's not compatible with,
Well,
Because
I
there's
think,
none other like
I
it.
think the compatibility factor is, A, the house obviously fits in. It's actually a little better than a lot of the houses that are along there.
is it?
B, I mean, you look at the actual structure itself, the house, I mean, it's a little, there's a lot, I was surprised, there's some houses along there that don't look so hot. And so actually, I think his house actually improves the overall area. The garage is, it is what it is. It's circa 1960.
Guess what threw me is the word use.
Mm,
The use will be compatible because
Well,
it's
I mean,
unique.
we
It's
talk
a-
about if they're outside skipping rope and running in a yard.
Right.
It's pretty
Kids
typical
do that.
house,
whether it happens to be a 40-year-old or a 4-year-old, I don't know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of difference.
Right.
Okay. The use will be served adequately by essential public facilities and services such as highways, streets, police, fire, drainage structures, refuse disposal, water and sewers, and schools, or that the persons or agencies responsible for the establishment of the proposed use shall be able to provide any such services adequately. We didn't hear from fire or maintenance, did we?
They did not have any concerns.
Okay.
I didn't give you my
I was gonna
little,
say, I don't remember
I didn't
seeing
give you my
anything.
little standard thing, but
No, you
it's
didn't.
in the staff report.
Oh, it is? Oh, okay,
So-
then I missed it.
Fire and police had no comments.
Okay, all right. The use will not create excessive additional requirements at public cost for public facilities and services and will not be detrimental to the economic welfare of the community. Public facilities and services include, but are not limited to fire and police protection or other emergency services, roadways, intersections, traffic lights, sanitary and storm sewers, which is kind of 303.05. I don't see any impact on any of that at all. Adequate landscaping and screening are provided as required, which was your question.
Right, and so it doesn't, I mean, the Article 20 describes screening, but it's unclear whether any of those are required.
Susan's memo says outside storage requires screening. Is there anything else that section 20 require, or Article 20 requires to be screened? Or if there's items stored outside, which wouldn't apply here in your memo, the third bullet point? Is that the only thing that would need screened if you stored items outside? Section 2 of the memo, third bullet point.
That's the standards for the conditional use.
Oh, that's, okay. Now,
So,
go ahead.
so the home occupation section is 1708.01 and .02, and then those are the standards, the criteria. If you
If
meet
it was
those
attached to his
items,
house.
then you can, for the conditional use. So which one were you looking at?
The third bullet point. That's only mentioning time I see screening referenced in the memo.
Yeah, so that's a standard in the code, a criteria for issuance of a permit. So that would be a time when you could require screening if they were having, storage.
Of like large dump trucks in their front yard.
Somebody
dead
had a
serious.
woodworking business and they wanted to do it in an accessory building and they wanted to store something outside, you could require them to screen it, so, put up a
I'm
fence
actually
or
dead
something like
serious with
that.
that question because I've seen it.
Yeah.
Okay. That answer your question, Paul?
It does.
Okay. Adequate off-street parking is provided, and ingress and egress is so designed as to cause minimal interference with traffic or abutting streets. And I think the parking is adequate. Here is a concern that I do have, is that generally we require in the township a garage for new construction, which we had the one over on Freeman Road that
That's
had an
right.
accessory building that many of the board members approved, even though there was really no garage associated with that.
Right.
One of the points for me is that with this conversion of the garage to I don't mean to, the only word I can think of is commercial space, is that then you've eliminated the garage. Although, on the other hand, if you go back, a garage door is still there.
But he would be existing non-conforming, plus it was built in, the house in 1955 and the garage in
You didn't have to have
1960.
We're
So,
the same age, yes.
Huh?
The house and I.
but it, he can keep it the way it is now. He's existing non-conforming. So there's nothing that says he has to have to make it conforming.
Okay.
He's not in violation.
No,
of the
I didn't,
code
I didn't
because he
mean to
doesn't have an
imply,
attached-
no,
okay.
I didn't mean to imply it that at all. My concern is that there is off-street parking, but there is no garage, where generally there is throughout the township. The use conforms to all applicable regulations governing the district in which it's located, which, honestly, that's kind of, to me, kind of an oxymoron. Because if it conformed, it probably wouldn't be here.
That's right.
The use is compatible with the standards, objectives, and policies of Genoa Township Comprehensive Plan as amended and any revisions thereof. So, anybody want to tackle that? Does it generally conform? Let me go at it another way. Does it live up to the spirit of the zoning? I guess I think that's what it really comes down to, is does this use and this permit, does this generally conform, or does it uphold the spirit of the zoning resolution?
I think the fact that I see it as a temporary situation. If it was permanent.
Potentially, but potentially not. We've had a couple, I can remember one application where we had somebody that wanted to do a use, and they said, oh, well, I'm only gonna be in that property for 6 months, and then I'm gonna go find something permanent. Well, I can tell you right now, I drive by it all the time.
And they're still there.
And 10 years later, they're still there. So, I think the only thing, I'm not advocating for or against the application, but I think that it's fair to everyone to understand what we're buying into. That's all I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to just, we have to all understand what we're on board for. That's all.
Hey, Mark, let me just make a
Go ahead.
comment. We're talking about use. He's actually using his garage for something. How many garages do we go by every day when they open the garage and it's
Full of
packed
junk.
full of everything?
Oh, I have a neighbor that's
that you
across the
can't-
street. He's never had a car in his garage.
You can't even use the garage. So
Yeah.
you were commenting on garage use. Even the 2- and 3-car garages that we have in our community can't even be used.
Sure.
Where he's actually promoting a use for something that's pretty promising and positive.
Sure.
Where you look at
Yeah.
some of the neighbors that we have,
Right, it's just
you
got
can't
junk
even
in
get
it.
in their garage.
Like I said, I have a neighbor across the street and a few doors down that, as long as I can remember, they've lived there a long time, almost as long as we have. They have never been able to get into the garage.
It's more of a storage
It
facility.
is,
Sure is.
that's all it is
It's
a
a storage
facility.
locker.
Yeah, so, no, that's a good point, though.
Think about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
He's using his garage for a positive use where so many people are using they're not even able to use their garages.
They have more stuff
Well,
than
they
they
could
have
be if they
space.
would.
Send it down the Cardinal where.
Yeah.
Not that that's a commentary on people that have stuff. Okay. The use will not involve uses, activities, processes, materials, equipment, and conditions of operation that will be detrimental to any person's property or the general welfare by any reason of excessive production, traffic, noise, smoke, fumes, glare, odors, and vibrations. I think that is an overwhelming, it will not.
And I think he really addressed the noise, which in some of those places get noisy, but he addressed it.
Yeah,
You do freeways.
Yeah, I have a few machines, but primarily free weights.
That's where where you're gonna get most of your noise.
oh, the clang and the, yeah. Yeah,
So
go ahead.
the technique that I do is I don't want to call it super slow, that's a trademark technique, but the idea is that it's much slower cadence. So when you think of free weights, you're thinking of just blasting the weight, and the weight's all clanging together, no collars, and everybody's screaming and stuff. I do a much slower cadence. So I focus on a very slow positive part of the rep and a slow negative, so you're not gonna have
Not
that.
banging. when
Yeah,
you-
there's no banging of the weights, there's no clanging at all.
Okay, that's fair. Okay. Okay, the following sections of the Genoa Township zoning resolution contain specific conditional use standards applicable to this request. And this is for a home occupation. And we've, as the board, reviewed the application based on the requirements listed as follows. There shall be no more than 2 non-residential employees or volunteers engaged in the proposed use. And I think that the applicant has said that really you're the employee, it's you. Is your wife engaged in the business at all? No? Okay.
This says non-residential.
Right, non-residential employees.
So how many residential employees could you have?
It's got one.
Big, so, sounds like you can have as many as you want.
He testified that he's the only person.
Yeah, he
No,
did.
but this says you will have no more than
More than
2
2
non-residential.
Right.
But being
Well-
that he's a resident,
But this is
how
the
many
point.
residential
I
employees
don't
could
think,
you?
I don't remember the code saying that it's limited to any number. If you had like I grew up with some people that had 13 kids, I guess you could have them all working.
If you live in if
Gosh.
you live in Genoa Township, you could have as many as you want based on that,
Kids or,
right? Not kids.
If you're out of your mind.
I'd be a basket case. 2 was enough, thanks.
Employees, based on that.
No, you could only have 2 that, well, if they lived there, I guess you could. How
But the
many-
house is too small for that.
I was gonna say, how many residents do you think you can put in that 1,000 square feet?
That's right. I don't think it'd work.
Sales of commodities not produced on the premises may be permitted, provided that the commodities are specified. And you don't sell anything, you don't sell any,
Nope.
or do you?
No, I have a cooler, so if you look at some photos, you'll see a cooler with protein shakes and Gatorade, it's complimentary. So I don't
Okay.
sell any, he's got in there, probably next one. Maybe.
I kind of do remember
There's
seeing a cooler.
It's about yay tall, but it's stocked with,
It's up on the
Water.
screen.
there you go.
It's over here.
Okay, I don't even see
You'll see the
it.
Gatorade's the orange and then.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's complimentary.
I was gonna say,
just-
what's that hold about 10, 12?
30 actually.
Oh,
But
30?
yes, it's
Oh,
pretty good.
wow.
Cooler.
Okay.
But yeah, it's all complimentary. My philosophy is,
Your
Come
place
in.
looks very neat. I
Thank you.
like that.
thank you.
Outside storage related to the home occupation may be permitted if totally screened from adjacent. I don't see any, there's nothing to store. There's no weight equipment, there's no nothing, because if you're using it, it's inside. You're not gonna,
Yes.
at least that's my finding. No more than 30% of the gross floor area of any resident shall be devoted. So is that an issue, Susan? Because how big is the house? I don't know what the house
On
is.
the application, I calculated about 28%.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I added the
Thank you.
garage to the house square footage,
Okay,
and it was about
Yeah,
20,
okay,
'cause
27%.
I
It was less than 30.
didn't do
Again,
that.
it's a standard that's really, really hard to determine.
I know, yeah, I know, because the
We
auditor
don't
is gonna.
go, we don't go measure.
Some of us have to. Okay, the external appearance of the structure in which the use is to be conducted shall not be altered, and not more than one sign no larger than 2 by 2 square feet shall be mounted flush to the wall of the structure. And I think that, well, there is a sign, it is larger than 2 by 2.
Say it'd make it smaller.
Well, I'm rounding the turn. Are we gonna
Is
require,
that even 2 foot high? Because
see,
those are 4-inch siding panels, aren't they?
16, driving by, it looks bigger than
Even
that.
if they were 5-inch panels, which I don't think.
Do you wanna just make a condition that it's gotta be a 2 by 2 sign, and then we
Yeah.
can end
Leave it
it?
at that, yep.
Yeah.
End it. Let's just
Okay.
do it.
Minor or moderate alterations in accordance with other provisions of this resolution may be permitted to accommodate the proposed use, but there will be no substantial construction or reconstruction. And I think you're built. There's nothing else that you're gonna do, or,
I had no intention of adding anything else to that.
Right.
And you could say, well, hey, add a bathroom or do this or expand, but frankly, I'd rather get a commercial space.
by the time you buy a bathroom, you might as well go get it.
That's right.
That's what it,
And that was my point earlier. It's like, by the time you're looking at adding a bath, you're moving. Okay. No equipment, process, materials, or chemicals shall be used to create offensive noise, vibration, smoke, dust, odor, heat, glare, X-rays, radiation, or electrical disturbances. And
There's some heavy things.
I don't think we've had any evidence that there's anything that, I mean, aside from the weights you were talking about, Dave, I don't think there's anything else. And I think you'd have to be pretty close to ground zero to hear that. I don't know. That's my opinion. No more than 2 additional parking places may be proposed in conjunction with the home occupation, which shall not be located in a required front yard. So I guess you won't be parking on the grass. So, I don't, you know, the only issue there is that there's no street parking there, but that's the reason you're so far off the street too, is you've got that long driveway. And I think we covered, that was one of the first things we covered, I think, when you started, was that you and your wife have cars and then you've got one client at a time, and, because even your 2 probably come together, I'll bet you.
They do. The
Yeah.
father and son come in one car. And frankly, my wife works until 9:30 p.m.
Okay.
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So her car's not there at all those days. So
Yeah.
it's just my car and then clients if I have
Do you
Yeah,
have to move them out? Do you have to reshuffle cars to
any.
get?
No, what I always do is I park my car right in front of the garage door
uh-huh.
and then leave everything else open for
And
the
then,
clients.
then your clients park like up in front of the
Yep.
entry door there?
Yep, they can walk right up to the door and just walk right in.
Yeah. Okay. I think those are the findings. I do want to mention, before anybody makes a motion, that failure of this motion would constitute a denial of the application, just so you understand. And at this point, I think we've gone through section 303 and 1708 on home occupations pretty thoroughly. And I think at this time, does anybody want to make a motion?
Is this the motion right here? I can do it.
Oh, don't everybody at once. Either one. You gonna do it, Doris?
Yeah, that Dorothy did it.
Anybody?
Is this it right here? Yeah. Okay. I move to honor the tabling request of the applicant Kevin and Rachel Corey. Not that one? I asked him if it was that one.
Oh, well,
What one do you want
The
me to
one
read?
that says
Tell me what you
approve.
want me to read.
Page 5.
Well, that's tabling, okay.
oh, no, that's not what you want. You want, see, yours is different than mine. You're on the wrong page, that's why. Try that one.
All right.
That's why when you said, is it that one, it's the same place on page 5 as you were
That's
looking
why
at
I asked you if
7.
it was that one. You said yes.
Well,
Okay,
I
we got it.
just-
Okay, okay.
You
I
give me a
move-
lot of credit for my visual acuity.
I move to incorporate syllables, I think it was A through D? A through D.
Do we, is that, sorry to interrupt, does the video and all the pictures, is that included in the application?
That
Or
is
that
all part of
separate?
his submittal, yes.
Okay,
As well as the board's findings pertinent to the review of section 303 and section 1708.02 of the Genoa Township zoning resolutions into evidence and to approve the subject conditional use requested in accordance with section 303 of the Genoa Township zoning resolutions for BZA 2021-07. Application received April 29, 2021, to allow for home occupancy conducted in an accessory building on Lot 75 of the Burke subdivision, 6642 South Old 3C Highway, Westerville, Ohio, 43082, zone suburban residential, SR, based on the aforementioned findings.
are we gonna put any requirements, like any occupancy or like number, like, you know, maximum number of students at any one time? Any limitation, and I'm just asking, I'm not trying to amend the motion. or anything,
The
I'm
only
just
thing that
asking.
came to mind was nothing too late, but, I mean, I don't know that he's going to train people to 11 PM, and even if he did, it's still a quiet activity.
And we're not going to be out working at 11 o'clock.
Right,
you know,
yeah.
if
So,
we
I mean,
were-
again, that's something that, yeah, you'd rely on the neighbors to know and then rat them out, if, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm reluctant to put any conditions
Limit,
like that.
here, I'll just throw some stuff out there that comes to mind. Limit number of students at one time, limit any, like,
Number of cars.
number of cars, time of day, anything like that. And I'm just asking, I'm not telling. I'm not suggesting, but is anything like that, any screening, anything? No? Okay.
It doesn't, it's not glaring to me. I think the cars would be more of an issue than the number of people.
That's right.
Because he has space limitations when you're lifting weights and everything, and he's only one person. So the cars, I think, would be
It's
more
gonna
of a problem
self-limit.
than what
Right.
the
Yeah.
facility would be. Yeah.
Okay, and like I said, I'm just throwing those out there because those are the ones that come to mind. Okay.
So just note that it's to allow a home occupation, not an occupancy.
Right, yes. Right, this motion only authorizes the issuance of a conditional use permit. Such approval is subject to the following, which I don't know that. Now, this says, and more than, okay. The conditional use permit use shall cease more than 6 months or is not begun within 12. It's already begun from the date of the approval. So if he discontinues out of the house more than 6 months, then you get to come back and see us, or you have a commercial space. If you, for some reason, let's say you go to Brazil for 6 months and come back, then you get to come back to square one, just so you understand how it works.
Absolutely.
Okay, anybody want to make a second?
I'll second it.
So can you guys finish the motion then?
Yes,
If Dorothy wants to keep going, that it complies with 303 and 1708.02.
Okay, all right.
I thought we did that already.
No,
I'm
you
sorry.
jumped into the other.
Oh, I apologize. I thought you talked about 303 and 1708.
All requirements of section 303 of the Genoa Township zoning resolution as documented during the hearing. The proposal complies with all requirements of section 1708.02 of the Genoa Township resolution as documented during this hearing.
Did we decide that it does? I guess it does. Yes.
The only
Yeah.
thing he wasn't was the sign, and he said he
Right,
would
and
make
he'll-
sure that
he'll
it was.
revise. Okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure
Making the
we're
sign
not
smaller.
reading something into the record that we didn't do.
The motion only authorizes the issue of a conditional use permit. Such approval is subject to the following. Do we have any followings? All required permits, zoning or otherwise, must be obtained pursuant to section 305 of the Genoa Township zoning resolutions. The conditional use permit shall expire if for any reason the conditional use shall cease more than 6 months or is not begun within 12 months of the date of this approved motion,
Okay.
which I think we covered well.
Okay, got a motion, we got a second?
second it.
And we have an opportunity for discussion.
You?
So,
Oh, yeah.
anybody, anything? Okay. Then are we ready to call the vote? All right, roll call. Mr. Boone? Ms. Driscoll?
Yes.
Mr. Hanson?
Yes.
Ms. Yu?
Yes.
Chair votes yes, motion carries.
You've got it.
Thank you. It was kind of, these are a little bit of a long process, so thanks for bearing with us here. The hearing is closed at 8:07. Any other business? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Mr. Hanson moves, second. Mr. Boone, all in favor? Aye. Motion carried, meeting adjourned at 8:08.